lay on the bed, bored, and texted Emery, "So boring." Due to the early signs of a miscarriage, I, who had just become pregnant, was ordered by the doctor to rest in bed. My loving and devoted husband, Daniel, who is the epitome of a good husband, took a long leave from work to take care of me. As he had a major project at hand and would be on a business trip soon, he was worried about leaving me alone at home. Therefore, he personally went to a domestic service company and hired a nanny to look after my daily needs. Now, I had become a pampered lady, with everything taken care of at my fingertips. At that moment, my phone lit up with a message from Emery along with a post, "Is this girl out of her mind?" Little did I know that this post would unexpectedly alter the course of my life. I'm Alice, and Emery and I have been inseparable since the days of wearing open-crotch pants. I'm gentle and introverted, while Emery has always been a tomboy. Many people wonder how two people with such contrasting personalities can be best friends. Even Daniel often advised me, stay away from Emery. At her age, if she's not a lesbian, she's a homewrecker. Because of this, Daniel and I almost broke up. The truth is, Emery and I can be best friends because our values align. Take the post she shared with me, for example. The blogger, named Lydia, narrates her 7-year love story with her academic genius ex-boyfriend, Ai. It's a story that rivals idol dramas. Ai's mother disliked poverty and ran away with a construction worker when he was 6. Ai worked on construction sites with his father, facing difficult days. Fortunately, Ai, a natural academic genius, worked hard and, with talent, got into a prestigious high school, sitting next to the blogger. The blogger comes from a well-off family, and Ai has a reserved personality. Thus, the drama of a rich girl falling for a poor boy unfolds between them. In the end, both of them successfully enter prestigious universities. After graduation, the female lead insists on marrying Ai, facing opposition from her mother and being forcibly sent abroad. The blogger, having gained experience abroad, returns home and, according to her parents' wishes, works in the family company. Now, she stands firm, able to defy her parents and refuses arranged marriages. More importantly, she still deeply loves her ex-boyfriend. So, she orchestrates a drama of chasing love from afar. Whether it's the female lead buying attention or the onlookers being moved by her tragic love story, this post has gained a lot of attention and comments. Cat-loving fish, who is this goddess? I'm begging her to take me under her wing. Crying but actually laughing emoji, if only I could be as brave as her. I'd already have soy sauce for the kids with my ex-boyfriend. Dodgy's little tyrant, thumbs up for the lady. Wishing you success in winning back your love. Reading the comments from onlookers, I messaged Emery, I feel sorry for her ex-boyfriend's current partner. Imagine how heartbroken she would be if she knew her man is being coveted by someone else. Emery immediately replied, I think the same. A good ex should be treated as if they're dead. With that said, I put down my phone and continued enjoying the drama. I have to say, Lydia is a very diligent blogger. It would be a pity if she didn't work as a self-media person. Just as Rumor and I were chatting, she updated her status again with the caption, "The life of a Ferris wheel is complete. Since you already have a virtuous wife at home, accompany me to finish this last thing, and let's part ways, never to meet again." There was also a picture attached, showing a man's hand. From the image, you could clearly see the ring marks on the man's ring finger, as well as a prominent scar on one of his fingers. I had a bad feeling and, without thinking, put on my coat, hailed a cab downstairs, and arrived at that restaurant. Through the restaurant's glass window, I saw Daniel feeding a young woman sweetly. Suppressing the anger in my heart and the turmoil in my throat, I silently reassured myself, that woman must be saying goodbye to Daniel, and Daniel loves me. Just an hour ago, Daniel sent me a message, I'm going to see a friend. I'll bring you durian milfai when I come back. When we first started living together, I was awakened by a late-night knocking. Daniel happened to be on a business trip, and feeling helpless and scared, I picked up the phone and called Daniel. Upon hearing my narration, Daniel, who had a lazy voice just moments ago, immediately became alert. He asked me to put him on speakerphone and engaged in a conversation with me, sounding like the master of the house. After a few minutes, I finally felt relieved when I heard footsteps approaching from outside, gradually fading away. Once the danger was averted, I fell asleep in a daze. When I woke up, Daniel had surprisingly arranged breakfast in the living room. Touched, I hugged him, and fearing that I might face harassment again, he even proactively asked Emery to keep me company for the day. He made a promise, after this project is over, we will get married. And true to his word, Daniel made it happen. Even Emery, who had always been critical of him, spoke well of Daniel. Beautiful sister, don't cry anymore. My thoughts were interrupted by a tender voice, and a young mom gently handed me a tissue. At that moment, I glimpsed Daniel and Lydia leaving the restaurant and getting into a car. So, without thinking, I didn't have time to express gratitude to the mother and daughter. Instead, I hailed a passing cab and followed them. I thought they would go to a hotel, but instead, they drove into a somewhat old residential complex. There was no security guard at the entrance, and my car followed them into the compound. I sat in the car, watching them hold hands and enter one of the units. Soon after, the lights on the second floor turned on. In these old residential complexes, each floor typically has 2 households. Judging by the position of the lights, I easily identified their apartment number. The older female driver seemed unfazed by the situation and handed me a tissue, comforting me, men who cheat are like shit on money. I wiped away my tears, paid the fare through my phone, and got out of the car. Feeling a bit lost standing downstairs, I had no choice but to call Emery. You see, my parents have been teachers their whole lives, never having any disputes with others. Now that they are both retired and not in the best health, when I wanted to marry Daniel, my parents disagreed. Now, I didn't want to cause them more distress. When Emery arrived, I had been standing downstairs for half an hour. On her way to me, I tremblingly sent Emery the photos of Daniel and the other woman feeding each other at the restaurant. Without me saying much, she understood everything. Upon seeing me, she pulled me into a hug and then came up with a clever plan. We ordered takeout using the address of the residential complex. When the delivery guy arrived, Emery explained the situation to him. He took on a righteous appearance, refused any payment we tried to give him, and even declared his intention to help me give the cheating guy a beating. However, our immediate task was to get into the apartment. The delivery guy outside was quick-witted. He took off his jacket and placed it on his electric bike, telling me, the heating is on. I'll pretend to be a maintenance worker entering the apartment to check the heating. Emery thought it might not work and said, nowadays, it's all underfloor heating. This trick probably won't work. The delivery guy grinned and said, I live in this complex too, and there are still old-style radiators here. So, the 3 of us went upstairs one after another. The delivery guy knocked on the door, and Daniel, dressed in boxers with his upper body bare, opened the door. Emery, like a gust of wind, rushed into the room with her phone, not waiting for Daniel's reaction. Meanwhile, I suppressed the turmoil in my stomach and delivered a resounding slap to Daniel's face. Daniel, covering his face, tried to explain something to me, but Lydia's scream came from the bedroom. Daniel turned and hurried into the bedroom, shielding Lydia in his arms. The ambiguous atmosphere in the air already indicated what had just happened. Enduring the nausea, I walked into the bedroom, expressionless, and stared at Lydia. Lydia, who knew 3 things and guessed the other 3, was pale but looked at me with a triumphant expression, saying, Miss Alice, and I couldn't control our feelings. I hope you can understand. Look here, this is the apartment and I rented during university, but I'm sure loves you now. Because everything here is decorated in the style I like, but from today onwards, I will disappear and won't disturb you anymore. Emery immediately interrupted her, even dogs can't resist eating shit. Why don't you go eat shit? I glanced around the room, and this king-size bed was the one I had chosen when Daniel and I got married. However, considering the budget, I gave up on it. I never expected it to show up here. And in the living room, that luxurious sofa. No wonder Daniel often stared at me and said, Alice, you have excellent taste. Turns out, it's not that my taste is good, but rather my taste is like someone else's. I walked into the living room, smashed the fish tank on the ground, and then stormed into the bathroom to grab a mop, creating a chaotic scene in the house. Lydia shouted in despair, Miss Alice, this is and my home, our memories. Amidst her desperate screams, Daniel angrily walked out of the bedroom and pushed me down. In the moment of falling, I could feel a warm flow between my legs. When I woke up, the smell of disinfectant filled my nostrils. Emery walked to my side, affectionately stroking my hair, saying, it's all over. Daniel, like a child who had done something wrong, sat quietly on the side. Lydia had disappeared. I had Emery help me drink some water and said to Daniel, let's get a divorce. Move out of my house. Daniel looked at me in disbelief because, after our divorce, he would be homeless, and the house was my premarital property. I smiled bitterly. I don't want a divorce, you're just too shameless. I have videos of your affair. If I send them to your company, you know the consequences. Daniel was stunned. After all, every company cares about the morality of its employees. His competitor was dismissed from the company due to the disturbance caused by the original spouse. The divorce with Daniel went smoothly. When he moved out of my house, he said to me, "Alice, I just wanted to live a good life with you. I merely made a mistake that any man in the world might make. Now, you're a woman who has been through a second marriage, with a history of losing a child. Without me, how will you manage in the future?" Before he could finish, Emery, wielding a broom, chased him out of my house. After Daniel left, Emery helped me pack the necessary belongings, called a moving company, and had all my things moved back to my parents' place. Back home, I explained the whole situation to my parents. My usually gentle dad was so angry he rolled up his sleeves, ready to go give Daniel a beating. However, I stopped him. Because all I wanted was to live a peaceful and stable life. 1 month later, the house that used to belong to Daniel and me had a new owner. Meanwhile, I agreed to the arranged blind date set up by my parents. Later on, Emery, who had been following Lydia's updates on Zaya Hongshu, Little Red Book, informed me that Lydia had accepted an arranged marriage proposed by her family. Daniel's runaway mother also returned. During that time, whether Daniel was heartbroken because he was homeless after our divorce or because Lydia was moving on, he, after drinking heavily, confided everything to his mother. Subsequently, his mother caused a scene at Lydia's place, resulting in the cancellation of both families' marriage plans. Lydia's family business took a downturn and was on the verge of bankruptcy. Her former fiancé even sabotaged Daniel's job. Hearing all this, I couldn't help but feel sorry. However, I admire Lydia even more. She truly lives up to her title as an online influencer by sharing every detail of her life online. At this point, I'm in the stage of discussing marriage with my potential partner from the blind dates. Emery also seems to have clicked with a good friend of my future husband. I believe that, free from the previous obstacles, we will become increasingly happy.